Hi, it's Katie.
And Katie, and you are listening to ProperTea, the podcast where we spill the tea on Toronto real estate.
Let's get started. Welcome.
Hi guys, welcome back.
Welcome.
What's the tea today, Katie Davis Bennett?
What is the tea today? Today we are meeting your real estate team.
Ooh, so that's like how we keep really annoyingly saying real estate is a team sport.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is exactly it. Real estate is a team sport, and we figured that it was important to introduce you to the players.
I wish we had spent more time on like this metaphor and expanding out and like picked an actual sport. Not that that would have been helpful because I don't know the positions of anyone in anything. But it could have been cute. Anyway, okay, so you have a team to buy your property. Who's on the team?
Who is on the team? So you have your real estate agent, the brokerage that the real estate agent works for, the mortgage broker and the lender, your home inspector, your lawyer, the appraiser, and sometimes specialized inspectors are needed, such as pool inspectors, mold specialists, mortgage mold specialists, environmental specialists. Wow, that was coherently said.
Sometimes you need special people to help because your house is special.
Yes.
Cool. So what do all these people do? I mean, we've talked a little about the role of the real estate agent, and they're usually like the first person that you meet on the team, right?
Generally speaking, yes. And we will be having, we mentioned this before, but we're going to have interviews with all of the members of your team. So you will get their perspective on what they do as well. But we thought we'd give you a little kind of summary of what everybody does in the beginning, so you have an idea going into those interviews what you're going to be listening to. So yes, first and foremost is the real estate agent, which is me. I am generally speaking the first person that you will think of to reach out to. That is historically the case. It's been my experience. And when you're interested in buying a property, selling a property, leasing a property, because we do help with leases as well. And we're the person who helps you with your search. We help you understand the process. We get to know what you're looking for in a home, kind of what your short-term and long-term goals are, if you know what your long-term goals are. We get all of the background details on the property, so we make sure that you are buying something that is safe, it's not going to fall down, that it was, I don't want to say well constructed because that's the home inspector's job, but that all of the things that could possibly go wrong in a house, we get as much information as we very possibly can about it, and we relay all of that information to you so you are as informed as possible when you are purchasing a place. And then we negotiate the actual deal for you. When you find a property that you like, we are the ones who go back and forth, and sometimes it's polite and sometimes it's not. It's always an adventure.
Amen.
And then we just send you an email saying, woohoo, you got your house.
Which is a pretty exciting email, and I've gotten to send a couple of those, which is always cool. I feel special, even though that generally I'm sending them from your email as you, so nobody knows it's me. But I still feel special when I do it. So your real estate agent is your first point of contact for this process most of the time. And obviously a really important person to know, to choose, to decide on. We've said this before, trust your gut. Your real estate agent shouldn't give you weird vibes. This should be somebody that you can talk to and that you feel comfortable with, and who makes you feel like they're working on your behalf, and with your best interests at heart, and hopefully are genuinely invested in making sure that you get as close to what you want as humanly possible.
Exactly.
Additionally, your real estate agent is probably going to bring a lot of the other team members in with them. They work in the industry. They will have connections to mortgage brokers, to home inspectors, to lawyers. The brokerage is going to be their brokerage. So, don't, if you meet somebody and you don't immediately jive with them, you're not obligated to stay working with that person. You are allowed to play the field, if you will. Is that fair to say?
Uh, yes and no.
I
Yes,
could tell immediately when I said that from your face that you hated that metaphor.
I did not enjoy that one in particular. You were going down the right path and then you kind of like detoured. Um, so
Great.
yes, correct. Trust your gut. You're not committed to anybody when you start talking to them. Everybody has a cousin who has a friend who's a real estate agent. We all know that. There are a lot of real estate agents. And you don't necessarily need to work with your cousin's best friend just because they're your cousin's best friend. Certainly have a conversation with that person, interview that person, but chat to a couple of people because we all work differently. We all have different areas of expertise. And some people you're just going to jive with better than others. So do interview a few people, talk to a few people in the beginning. When you find somebody that you're working with, or when you find somebody that you like, you are going to end up working with that person exclusively. You will not be playing the field.
That's okay. I understand why you hated that metaphor, and I see now how I fucked that up. I meant like before you choose, not like, well, like when you're still like seeing who's around and who you vibe with, not like
Yes.
after you've decided to work with somebody and then you're
Yeah.
like still seeing other people on the side, because that's not playing the field. That's like low-key cheating.
Yeah, exactly. Let's not low key cheat. But yeah, definitely play the field in the beginning. You want to interview people, you want to talk to people, you want to feel comfortable with the person that you work with. It's all about trust and value, basically. You want to make sure that the person who you're working with is providing that value for you and that you trust them completely to help you through the process.
Yeah. So the brokerage, I can speak to that a little bit, having had some experience in that. So the brokerage is the kind of support system for your real estate agent. It's all of the infrastructure to be able to book appointments at different places and to manage their active listings when they're listing on behalf of you. It's the
Which
people
is selling.
who
Listing is selling, to
listing is
clarify.
selling.
Yeah.
Or you can list a rental as well if you're looking for a tenant.
Correct. Yes.
It's the often like marketing and design. It's the deals department, the accounting department, the people who help to process all of the paperwork to make sure that everything is correct, to make sure that everything is in place and there aren't any loopholes or missing information or anything like that, and also to make sure that like everybody gets paid, including you a lot of the time. There's money that comes back to people from deals. So
Yeah, for the sellers, there's a deposit check often.
so it's yeah, they're important, but you probably won't see or speak to them unless you're dropping off a deposit check. And in this day and age, and by that I mean COVID, that's barely even a thing anymore. It's all like
Yeah.
wire transfers and direct deposits anyway. So we will
Yeah.
remain the brokerage support people will often remain a mystery, but they're doing good work.
They are doing the best work. They are vital. Without the brokerage support, so much would crash and burn around you. It would be a disaster. So we are very grateful for the brokerage. Thank you for all of the things that you do for us. And I say that, and it may have sounded sarcastic, but I actually do mean it very genuinely, sincerely, because without the brokerage, we fucked.
Word. So next is your mortgage broker, and through them, the lender. right?
Exactly. Yes. So your mortgage broker is the person who is going to review your financial situation, and they're going to advise you on what you can and can't afford now, today, and or how you can afford more later. So if you want to purchase real estate now, your real estate agent is going to say, okay, cool. First step is go talk to a mortgage broker. Here are some contacts for you if you don't already have one, because we need to know what you can actually afford before we start looking for you. You may think you can afford $500,000, but in reality, you might be able to afford $800,000, or it might be the reverse. You never know. The point is, without that information, we have no baseline for you to start.
And the mortgage broker is also, I mean, they're the person who reviews your financial situation and who sends you your pre-approval. And if you're lucky and you have a great one, they'll even break it down for you and explain all of your various options and what they mean and why, which is super helpful.
Find
And
one that does that for you.
find one that does that for you.
Yes.
That's also like, that's a good pro tip. If you find that your mortgage broker gives you a number and doesn't explain it, like probably you should talk to another mortgage broker. And you can, once again, this is the same kind of a situation where like until you're actually in the process, and when you're just kind of first starting to gather your information, you can speak to multiple mortgage brokers, and there is no obligation or fee to do so. We have an interview with a wonderful mortgage broker, Monica, later on, and she will explain all of this way better than us. So stay tuned for that.
More detail for sure. And the lenders come through the mortgage broker. The lender is somebody else who you will likely not deal with or speak with directly, certainly not in the initial phase. The broker kind of handles all of those conversations and transactions. They will, quote unquote, shop you to a few lenders and will say, hey, these people are looking to buy this type of property. They have this income, this credit. They're planning on putting this much as a down payment. They'll talk a little bit about property taxes and utility costs in the area. And a lender will say, yeah, sure, no problem. I will absolutely give them a mortgage as soon as they find a property. Just let me know.
Which is pretty cool. And I think in our mindset episode, we mentioned that there's like an alphabet of lenders. This is another thing that Monica will explain in detail. But there are different type of lenders and they do different things for different people. So, you know, your mortgage broker as well will be able, they may speak to multiple A lenders, but they probably won't only speak to A lenders. They'll give you options. Maybe there's B lenders, and that's because you're like me and you live that gig life, and different things need to be looked at to assess what you're financially able to afford.
And on that note, we're going to leave A and B lenders in suspense until Monica can explain them in further detail.
Yeah, we got to keep you guys on the hook.
That's actually a really great episode. I love her interview. She's so wonderful. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah.
The next very, very, very important person on your team is going to be a home inspector. When you actually find a property that you like, you want to make sure that the structure is sound and it's not going to come crumbling down around you. Like my blanket fort that I have created to record this podcast just did around me.
There's like
minutes ago.
Right now, all I can see is Katie's head and then like the butt of maybe an elf doll that's holding up the blanket fort. It's amazing.
You are correct. It is the butt. It is not an elf doll. It is, this is going to lead us down a tangent. But it is actually a mummer, which is a Newfoundland tradition, which.
Oh, like a musician? Like a traveling musician kind
of? Yes.
No?
Sort of. Yep. It's definitely, music is definitely involved. This is such a deep tangent that I'm going to put it in the comment section of this podcast because I know we are real estate tangents and tea, but this one is so far off. It's gonna take us a while to circle back.
Okay, well, I'm gonna hold you to that because I want more information.
It's a wild and wonderful tradition.
Beautiful.
You'll love it.
So anyway, back to your home inspector.
Back to your home inspector. Back to your home inspector. Yes, that is going to be the person who's going to look at the everything in the house, from the foundation to the roof to the HVAC, which is your heating, air conditioning, ventilation, all of the air systems in your house, the airflow. They're going to look at your windows to make sure to see if it's leaking, and they're going to look at so many more things that the list is this long.
You can't see what you just did, but it's long.
It's long. It's very long. They will give you a report, or like a status report basically, on the property that you're planning on buying. And so you go in with no surprises basically. If there's a little bit of work done, the home inspector will hopefully likely catch it, and no surprises. You'll be able to fix it. You'll be able to budget for it. If it's something catastrophically terrible, you might be able to go back to the seller and say, whoa, can you fix this? Or, it might be something that is a total deal breaker for you, and you're like, no, I don't want to put an offer on this property, or I want to get out of this offer, depending on where in the purchase process you do the home inspection, which we'll let our awesome home inspector Michael explain to you.
Yes, and he will once again explain in wonderful detail, much clearer than either of us can.
Yes, and Michael is also awesome. That's another really great interview that I'm very excited for you guys. He has wonderful information, and he is a home inspector extraordinaire. I have used both him and Monica before, their services, and they're both wonderful.
And he also has some really great stories.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that.
Crazy things you find in houses.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. I have to tell you guys a story about the time that I found the Ouija board in the house. It was the only clean thing that was in the house. There was like 3 inches of dust on everything else. Oh, the face that you're making. Yeah, that was the face that I made too. I left pretty quickly after that.
Ew.
Yeah.
Was that were you with clients, or was it like a pre-inspection?
No, I was with a client, and we both kind of looked at each other and we were like, oh, we felt this house was haunted when we walked in, so let's just leave.
Yeah, because there's nothing to make you feel better about that haunting feeling than finding a Ouija board as the literal only thing that isn't covered in a layer of dust.
Yeah, I'll save the details of the story until later, but yeah, it was creepy. It was not an enjoyable property.
Once again, we'll be following up on that. Okay, so after your home inspector, who's next?
Who's next? The lawyer. A lawyer is another very, very vital person. They're the person who's going to review kind of like the deal to make sure that everything is above board. They will look at the history of the property. They will look at the title to make sure that nobody has taken out a lien or anything on the property that makes it unsellable, or something that needs to be paid back or dealt with beforehand. They'll make sure that there is no grow ops or sketchy environmental issues that had been gone on. They'll check to make sure things like permits have been closed, building permits, that kind of thing. They will do a lot of checks into the property, super deep dive type of deals. So to make sure that everything is good and you're not buying something that's
liability
haunted.
Or haunted.
I don't know if a lawyer can actually determine if a property is haunted, but
I mean, but they can probably determine if there's some bad juju going on there,
yeah.
what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. They'll know.
Oh, and something else to note, just while we're talking about the lawyer and the home inspector, is the reason that these people are on your team and that they're so important is because they're experts. They have expert knowledge. They have years and years of experience, and all of these things that are vital to being able to give you the best possible information on these specific details. And while your real estate agent is immensely important and hopefully a very knowledgeable person, don't trust your real estate agent's home inspection because
Yeah.
they're not an expert and they shouldn't be giving you that information. They shouldn't be giving you that advice because they can't know. If you notice something or your agent notices something, great. Go to your home inspector with that and let them, do the search and get back to you on that information. Same thing with the lawyer. Like there are certain things that your real estate agent can absolutely advise on, but there are certain things that you need a lawyer for.
Yeah. We
Which
are
is why,
experts in the market and we can help you negotiate deals. And there's a lot of things, as you said, that we will be able to point out to you to say, okay, you will want to get this checked out by an expert. But I am not a home inspector. I am not a specialist on foundations. I've never built a house. I couldn't tell you, I've watched a lot of HGTV, but that does not qualify me to be a home inspector. So if a real estate agent is advising you on things like, structural issues in the home or, how long your roof is going to last, we may have some idea about that because we've seen a lot of houses, but expert opinions are important and they're there for a reason. A home
yes.
inspector's job is to inspect the home.
And I would also say red flag is if you have an agent who's pointing these things out to you and telling you that because they've pointed them out to you, you don't need to get a home inspection,
Oh my God.
that's a run. It's a run in the opposite direction.
That's terrifying. Oh my God, can you imagine if I told you that oh my God, I can't even, I'm not even going down that road. It gives me a bellyache.
Yeah, I can see the panic in your eyes. Don't do it.
I am really good at my job. I'm fantastic at my job, but
Yeah, but that's not your job, so that's
that's
fine.
not my job. Exactly. Title searches, again, something that is the expert field of your real estate lawyer.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, great. We've talked about the lawyers. Who's next?
Who is next? The next person on your team is the appraiser. The appraiser is somebody generally hired by the lender, not by you. After you buy a house, the lender wants to make sure that their investment is safe, that you didn't, overpay for the house. You don't want to find out that you bought a house for $500,000 when you could have bought it for 350. Caveat, not in Toronto. But if you overpay for a house, a lender's investment is at risk and they want to make sure that all of their investments are safe. So a lender is going to hire an appraiser to come by and take a look at the property. They'll take a look at the market, what has sold recently. Basically, they're like a very, very, very specialized real estate agent. They will look at very, very specific data and report directly to the lender, which we do not. Real estate agents work for you, the client, the consumer. Appraisers work for the lenders. The other situation where you would use an appraiser is maybe say not so fun. If you were getting a divorce or if you were separating and one person wanted to buy out the other person, or if you needed to know the value of the home for settlement negotiations or whatever. I've never been divorced, so I don't know what happens in them, but an appraiser is usually used in those situations as well.
Yeah, I mean it's like if you've ever watched Antiques Roadshow, everybody on that show is an appraiser too. It's to look at the provenance of an item or a house, right? Like when was this built? How was it made? Like how sound is the structure? Like what is the neighborhood? What has changed in the time since? And how has the value appreciated or not since then? And what would it be worth on the market right now? Right? Like that's fair?
More or less.
Cool. So it's like a house version of that like really creepy porcelain doll that your mom kept for like a million years and then brought to Antiques Roadshow in the hopes that it would turn out to be like the one time that it's worth like $50,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I really went off on an Antiques Roadshow tangent.
Yeah, you did. I haven't seen that show in forever. It's still on the air though, right?
I think so. I mean, probably not right now because I feel like again, COVID is probably not super conducive to like indoor antique appraisal
I
sales.
was gonna say maybe they can do virtual, but then I was like, there would be so many forgeries with.
Yeah, they would have to look at it in person, right?
Yeah,
Like there's just no way.
yeah, totally.
Anyway,
Anyway,
um,
anyway, in
yeah, and
sum,
so yeah, as
the
Katie
appraiser.
mentioned, like they're depending on the specific place that you choose, there might be specialized inspectors necessary. If there's a pool, you'll need a pool inspector. Like you might need an environmental survey if you're building something in particular, right?
Yeah, if you're building something, you're gonna need to talk to a whole lot of other people besides these people. You're gonna need to talk to the planning office, the building office, the permit office, the office of the offices, that office, the one around the corner.
A
There's
lot of
several
bureaucracy.
offices that you're gonna want to talk to.
A lot of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Um, but
Especially, oh man, we could go down that road a long time. But I mean, especially if you're in an environmental area, like if you're building something kind of in northern Ontario in the Collingwood area, there's 17 environmental conservation rules and regulations that you need to follow.
yeah,
I
so
really wouldn't put it when
maybe
it's like offices around offices.
in
There's a
the
lot.
interest of keeping it simple, if you're a first-time home buyer, probably buy a home and not land to build a home on. That's like kind of a more advanced stage of
That's definitely a more advanced stage. I mean, hey, if you're here for an adventure, buckle up.
life. And yeah, like find somebody who's willing to like go down that rabbit hole with you. Once again, like your team's really freaking important.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Find a good solid team with you on that one. Good luck
yeah.
and Godspeed.
So, I mean, specialized inspectors aside, just to kind of recap, your team is your real estate agent, their brokerage, your mortgage broker, and through them, your lender, your home inspector, your lawyer, and your appraiser. And again, the appraiser is kind of through the lender. It's not they'll be a part of the team, but not necessarily something that you have absolute control over. Everybody else is really, your choice. And that can sound daunting as well because you're like, well, where do I find these people and how do I know if they're good? And that's a lot. I get it. I obviously am projecting. But I mean, not to repeat ourselves, and that's a hilarious thing to say because we do it all the time.
All the time. Oh my God.
Um, like you got to know and you got to vibe with your team, and if your real estate agent is the first person that you're meeting, like that once again, that first point of contact, like making sure that you have a good relationship with your agent and trust is so huge because a lot of the time they're going to have suggestions, they're going to have worked in this industry, know who they trust, who they are willing to recommend to you, because it is also their reputation, right? Like it's your reputation when you're saying use this mortgage broker, use this home inspector. So you can trust, if you can trust your agent, you can trust their recommendations.
Yeah, we've vetted these people. We've worked with them. We know we've questioned them.
And if you're the kind of person who needs to do your own research, that's fine. Just remember, like, just don't go with the first person you find on Google. Trust references, trust track records, trust recommendations, and trust your gut.
And if the first person that you find on Google was awesome, then that's awesome.
Yeah. They don't have to be.
They don't have to be. Yeah, for sure.
Anyway.
Congratulations. You now have your team.
Hopefully this answered some questions. Probably some questions you didn't know that you had. And as we've said, all of these, we have a bunch of really great interviews coming up with people who actually do these jobs, who Katie trusts. And they'll say and ah a lot less than me.
We'll get there. All right. Thanks, guys.
See you next
Bye.
time. Or hear you next time. Ugh, God, I hate myself. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to ProperTea Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on all of the platforms.
And remember, if you have any questions about anything we've discussed on the podcast, or you want us to discuss, DM us on our Instagram at ProperTea Podcast. That's ProperTea Podcast.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.